Welcome to my channel BornToReddit. I'd always heard a basement of a library is good because books may absorb some radiation. Make sure you don't break your glasses. There was time now. The Eisenhower Tunnel on I-70 in Colorado, 1.7 miles long, unless it turns into Stephen King's The Stand. I'm in Colorado, so good to know. I just figured I'd go towards mountains, I guess. Sort of plan less in this situation though. Going into the mountains is a great idea. There are a ton of used strategic assets in Colorado that would be prime targets for an enemy nuclear strike. A lot of our space capabilities are based there, as well as some nuclear assets, all of which I would expect to get hit, and none of them are really deep in the Rockies or anything. If you're within a mile or so of a strike, regardless of whether you're underground or not, you're fricked, so just going underground wouldn't cut it. Mountains provide a great shield to blast waves though. And it's extremely hard to hit the valleys between them. You're basically in a global-scaled trench. I work at a nuclear pharmacy which has dosimeters, Geiger counters, potassium iodide tablets, radiac spray, PPE and lead, and the break room/office is an extra vault that was made to house a particle accelerator, known as a cyclotron. I'm at work right now. So, assuming I'm safe from the initial blast radius, I'd probably go sit at my desk, scroll through Reddit, and watch the world end. Cool. What's radiac spray? Think like Radaway from Fallout. I would probably go to the bank and ask to go to where I stored valuables. Rob's bank put me in all the money in the vault, then shut the door. I am seeing a flaw in this plan. Hello? Anyone? Here we see the remains of an ancient humanoid, buried in an elaborate and secure vault with the many treasures of his life. This level of wealth suggests perhaps a local governor or even a pharaoh. We weren't aware of this level of class stratification in the Americas at that time, so this discovery throws new light on the political discombobulation of the early 20th century. Imagine eating $100 bills to avoid starvation in a pitch-black room for a week. The nearest city is over 30 miles away, and it's all open country from where I am and for at least another 10 miles to the mountains in the other direction. Either I jump in the truck and try to make it to the mountains through the res, or crawl under the house and hope for the best. Probably best to just hunker down. At that distance, you shouldn't be in the kill zone. Maybe a shockwave will blow out your windows. Best to hunker down and seal up the place so fallout can't get in. Then you just wait a few weeks for the major radiation to die down. There is an old building near me that has a basement. I know what boards to move to get into the basement from the outside. It's the only building I know of within about 100 miles that is entirely reinforced brick masonry with a basement, and I'm sure I'd spend the apocalyptic event chatting with several homeless people who also know about the board. We'd all survive though. Right answer: this is how my mom's friend's son survived Hiroshima. He was taking a break in the basement when the bomb hit. His co-worker classmate who was still outside was severely burned and later died. I saw some old civil defense stuff from the 50s that suggested doing the same thing. Edit, fixed details. People survived less than 1/4 mile from Air Zero at Hiroshima just by being inside concrete structures, like the Bank of Japan building. The simple earthen shelters that dotted the city would have been adequate to save many lives, had the population not been desensitized to air raid warnings. Well, according to this film by the National Clean Up, Paint Up, Fix Up Bureau, my best bet is to wait inside a house that has been coated with a fresh coat of good, American, paint and varnish. Reminds me of The Simpsons when nuclear war occurs and Homer was in a bomb shelter, and then Marge says all the layers of lead paint made the perfect bomb shelter. There's a building at the college I work at that goes 80 feet underground, and has 6-foot thick inward sloping concrete walls. I'll be in there. Why is there such a bunker at a college? My university was previously an Air Force base, so one of our buildings is literally a repurposed bunker. I try to do that guy jacking off from Pompeii thing. I feel like someone should pay that forward. So everyone can see the X-rayed imprint of your jacking on the wall for centuries? And become the cause of speculation that people that lived during the apocalypse had tiny knees. No thanks. He doesn't need to wait for the explosion, the burn is already right here. Hide. I ain't getting drafted for WW3, this bomb gonna send me. There would be no draft, World War III would be over in about 30 minutes. I would find the nearest elementary school and hide under one of the desks. Anyway, that's what we were taught when I was in elementary school. Duck and cover. Oh God, did I miss something in the news today? No, not that I know of, just was playing Fallout and thought of that, haha. My man. To bed for a 30-minute nap. Jack off and nap. Might as well make it a personal day. Like when everyone in Hawaii thought they were going to get hit by ballistic missiles. Edit easily the most upvotes I've ever had. Thank you. Made my morning. Oh wow, I had completely forgotten. I'd probably climb up onto my roof with a lawn chair and a cold beer and watch everything go to sit. Can't watch once you're blinded by the initial blast. I'll bring sunglasses. You got me there. To the liquor store, so I could hide from my problems the way I always do. My man. I'd love to join you. I would go buy all the frozen pizzas I could carry and head to the flavor zone. My reasoning is beyond your understanding. You mean? My seasoning is beyond your understanding. There is an old library built in the 1960s less than a mile from my house with a basement fallout shelter. I know because I always see the old 1960s fallout shelter signs and consider stealing one, but the potential of getting caught and being banned from the library for the rest of my life stops me every time. Under the blankets, nothing can get you under there. Nothing, including the air that I need to breathe after 5 minutes. Source, was once a child. Honestly love this. This actually happened to me, sort of. My wife and I were in Hawaii, near Pearl Harbor, in 2018, when the ballistic missile alert showed up on my phone. Seek immediate shelter, this is not a drill, it said. For a minute I thought it was fake, but why take the chance? I'd lived in Hawaii before and decided to get as far away from Pearl Harbor as I could before mass panic set in. I drove east towards Kaneohe. There's a tunnel through a mountain, and I stopped in the middle. We were the second car to stop, and within a few minutes the entire tunnel was full. After about 30 more minutes, a friend of mine in Kaneohe texted that it had been a mistake. He'd had his wife lie down in the bathtub while he watched the TV for updates. It was a pretty frightening experience. Edit, wow. This comment blew up, heh. To address the comments about the use of the tunnel, I have no idea whether that was a good spot or not. I'd read before that nuclear missiles are typically detonated thousands of feet in the air, so the blast wave comes downward then spreads out. I'm no expert though, just something I thought at the time. So I thought it might just travel down the mountainside, and maybe we'd be trapped in there by debris blocking the tunnel, but at least it offered a possible bit of protection. Having very little time to do anything, it at least made us feel better that we were taking action. I was about 90% sure it was a false alarm, but that remaining 10% did a number. I've read accounts of survivors of Hiroshima. Do yourself a favor, don't look it up, and I was hoping for either an all-clear report or a flash of light and nothing more. Yes, I remember this day also. I was about to head to the beach with some friends for a barbecue, and I was telling my parents goodbye and that I love them. Right before we stepped out of the door, everything went silent as all of our phones simultaneously went off with the warning. It was terrifying. My father is ex-military and he just sat down. My mother, who has terrible anxiety, sat next to him. They said nothing. My friends and I shared a glance at each other, sat down, and they each called their family to say goodbye. It was surreal. After everything got confirmed as a false alarm, we still went to the beach. Most surreal experience I've ever had. What would you do if you had 30 minutes to hide from a nuclear blast? And don't forget, subscribe or I'll insert tiny little pieces of shattered glass directly into your pee hole.